As Eli said, a little bit about my background. I came up through, I pumped gas, and then I was a word processing operator, and then I started being, I saw a vendor give a presentation for the first time and thought, ooh, I can do that. So I carried a bag for a year and then said, no, I don't want to do that. So stepped back and got into the sales engineering side, and I did that for a couple of decades and ended up running a global group. And then about 10 years ago, the SVP that I had at the time said, I don't know what you're doing over here, but it's working. So I want you to do it for the whole company. So it's the first time that I'd ever heard of any type of a role like that. They just didn't exist. So there was nowhere to go to get help. It was, I think my first title was VP of Global Success Metrics. I had to make it up. That's what I made up. And then Forrester and Gartner, and they all got in on the game, and it became sales enablement, and here we are now. So I've got 10 years of background in this. I've suffered a lot of the scars and arrows, and I've got to say that the last 3 years have been some of the most productive for me when it comes to sales enablement and training and getting marketing and sales together. And most of that is because of Saleshood. I mean, it just was one of those situations. I had a compelling event, Saleshood appeared, I started working on it, and it just, he says 20 times when they got in. This particular one that I ran that convinced me to buy the product is in 4 days' time. Our sales reps touched the application on average 42 times in 4 days. Those numbers were, I'm getting chills, right? Those numbers are staggering to me. And it's what convinced me to get Saleshood. And it's just been since then. So let's talk about these persona playbooks. So I started at RingCentral about 5 months ago. And when I came in, there were some challenges, and we've got, Robert Murphy is here, who's from as he said, the adopted, I'll be nice, the adopted guy from our creative team that's working with our product marketing folks, because there were some big solutions, and I'll talk about my philosophy on sales enablement in a minute. But a little bit RingCentral, that's awesome, you're looking at it. So RingCentral is a leader in what's called Unified Communications as a Service. So, and Gartner's recognized it twice in a row. Yay, it's really nice to be in the upper right-hand quadrant at a company for once. So we allow people to just transform the way they communicate with each other in all different ways, right? Imagine you're on your phone, and this is what Saleshood does as well. You're on your phone, you're in a phone call, somebody says, can you show me the slides? You jump into a meeting, you do a live web meeting, you're doing all of that. At the same time, they ask a question, you send an instant message off to somebody in your product team, they respond back. All of this done in, a unified system. I mean, it's a great technology for that. Right? And it was that technology that convinced me to come to the company, and then it was the broken systems that convinced me to stay, because that's what I love to do, is fix those systems. So here was one of the big problems, right? We had a BDR SDR team. It's a fairly sizable team based in Denver. There's an office, there's a satellite in Charlotte, and then we've got some in Manila. So they're around the world. But very low producing number of meetings set by this business unit, these guys. And we're trying to figure out, well, why was that? Right? Poor conversations leads to deals. I mean, how many of you have sat beside business development folks and you hear them on the phone and they call up and say, hi, I'm so-and-so from, company X. Do you have a project? And the moment somebody says no, they go, thank you, and hang up. Well, we realize you're not going to get anywhere, especially in this day and age. If you get a connection and somebody actually picks up the phone, you've got to be good at what you're going to say. You've got to get their attention. So that was part of it. So poor confusion, poor manager coaching cadence, right? The managers weren't coaching. They were simply, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? And so that was part of the problem. So it was not only giving them the types of material to coach with, but actually teaching them how to coach, because it's both parts of it. And the tools weren't optimized for curiosity-based selling. We took our whole company and put them all through Barry Ryan Selling Through Curiosity back in the early spring, every single one of them. So then we had to take all of that and build that into the sales cadence. What were we going to say? What does the sales process look like? All of those things had to be updated. So this was the old way, right? And some of you are probably in this side over here, and you've got, I'm so afraid of stepping off this thing, and you've got, you hire a sales trainer. I guess that's one of my first questions. Who thinks sales enablement is sales training? Oh, yay, I think headway's been made. This is awesome. So as I said, I'll talk about sales enablement a little bit, but it's more than just sales training. But typically what companies do is they just hire a sales trainer, third-party trainer, come in, learn my new sales process, use my tools, yay, and then they leave. And then there's no coaching afterwards. So it just dies on the vine. running a sales training workshop, reviewing the progress in 90 days, and usually at 90 days, there may be a modicum of people using it still, but typically not very much. It just dies without the coaching. The managers weren't engaged, and they were hoping for the best. And hope, you know what hope is? Hope is undiscovered disappointment, right? You just haven't realized it yet. So what do we do instead? Well, we partnered with marketing. That was one of the things when I was being hired during the interview process. I told them that if all they were bringing me on for was do sales training, I wasn't coming. But if they were bringing me on to actually pull everybody together and get this working, I like to tell people, it's like, imagine me at the zoo with all of these balloons. My job is to get all the strings together, right? First of all, so they're all in one place, and then it's sort the balloons in the appropriate colors, right? That's what I do. So that's really what the enablement piece is. So it's partnering with marketing. Training on the new playbooks and a lot of ongoing practice, right? This repetition, repetition, repetition. That's how people learn. You give them different modalities to learn it in, audio, video, written text, whatever you want, but you give them all that and they all learn different ways, but they learn. Then we ran a daily training every 2 weeks, right? So every 2 weeks we had some kind of a training to get in front of these people. The managers are accountable. They are the ones that we dealt with for the most part, is we worked with the managers and coached the managers and taught the managers, and then we saw the results fast, and I'll show you some of the results at the end. So what was my first step? My first step was educating marketing on what sales enablement really is, because when I started at RingCentral, I was the trainer. That's what they thought. And I was like, no. There's more to it. So I'm going to give you what my philosophy is, right? There's 4 pillars to me, and I'll do it quick. The first pillar is, does everybody understand this strategy, right? Did they get the memo? And it's strategy more than just what we do and how we do it. It's like, as Simon Sinek said, right? The golden circle is the why do we do it. So make sure the why is known and it's filtered throughout the company, right? Have your senior leaders do all hands meetings. Tell them what's going on. That's one. The second piece is now the strategy is understood. Now I want to make sure that all of the content and everything is online. So this was part of the retraining with marketing, because marketing had all of this content, all these brochures, all of that. And they're like, what? It's all here. And I said, here's the problem with it, is that, A, it's really, really good information. And if you're trying to attract a customer, it's really good for attracting a customer. Trade shows, online, that kind of thing. But for a salesperson, it does not help them, right? You hand them a brochure, and they're like, well, what do I do with this? So here's what you as marketers need to give your salespeople. Everything that you want them to share with customers has to answer 2 questions. The first one is, from a sales perspective, what's in it for me? Why should I even care about this piece? And the second one is, how is it going to help my customer buy from me? It is not, how is it going to help me sell RingCentral? It's, how is it going to help my customer buy from me? That's a very different conversation. So when you have a brochure you want them to use, you put a front page on that brochure. And what's on that front page is, here are the questions you need to ask out of curiosity so that they can introduce the brochure. Right? So it was working with marketing to get them to understand that and to translate it into pieces. There's a big gap in content when it comes for salespeople. So translate that into a language salespeople can deliver. Reverse engineering the sales methodology. The sales methodology was kind of like, well, here's kind of what we do, but nobody had really sat down and said, what are you using at each stage? And so what would happen is we get new sales reps in, and they would just be told, here, go get all this stuff. Here it all is. So one of the things we needed to do is say, if you're in this stage of the process, we're going to say, use these documents. If you're in this stage, use these assets. If you're in this stage, use these assets. So it was helping partition the information and making it accessible. So that was stage 2. Stage 3 is, got the strategy, got the content. Now, how are we going to deliver it in the format that the reps want to see it in, how they want to see it, and when they want to see it? And that's where Sales had kicked in, again, because it allowed us to deliver it not only to their laptops, any laptop, because it's a SaaS app, they could get it from anywhere, but they could get it on their mobile. They could search content from their mobile. So they're in a particular stage in the process. I'm in stage 3. I go into SalesHood. I say, okay, I'm at stage 3 in the process. They click on it on their phone. It says, here's all the supporting assets that you've got access to that fit for this stage. Boom, it's right there. So they don't have to search for it. They don't have to wonder what it is. It's available. And then the last part, which is where the deal wins come in, where a lot of the video is the tribal knowledge. We have all these salespeople out there doing some incredible things, and nobody knows. You find it at the end because the deal's been sold, but you don't know what went into it. So in the tribal knowledge piece, I have them answer 3 questions. The first one is, why were they buying? In other words, what was their pain? Why did they buy now? So what was a compelling event? Because without a compelling event, they're not going to buy. And the third one is, why did they buy us? So every single salesperson, when you talk to them about a deal, can answer those 3 questions, because that's what they need to do. So those are essentially the 4 pillars, and it all goes together, right? They all wrap around. So educating them, reverse engineering the sales methodology to make sure that everybody knew what pieces were needed at each stage. The snackable content. So this is a story. So we are running out, we're delivering a brand new sales pitch deck at the end of the month. And so one of our product marketing folks said, I'll do the training video. And I was like, yes, right? I love it when, they step up to do it. And he sent me the training video, and it was 52 minutes long. And I was like, no, it's not going to work. So I gave him a little direction, and what I got back was 7 videos, each video 5 to 7 minutes, that took each section of the playbook and explained what it looked like. It was very different. He did a much better job of it. And it means that from a sales perspective, they can consume it in small bites. They can go back to the pieces they may be struggling on. And from a maintenance perspective, it means that if part of the pitch decks changes over the next year, they only have to re-record 5 to 7 minutes, not the whole thing. So that's one of the other reasons is not only from the consumption side, but also from the creation side. Think about that. Keep it small so that you can put these pieces together like Legos. Creating the persona playbooks together, right? This is what we did with the BDRs, and I'm going to jump into that for a moment. Updating tools and email templates, right? We needed to give them, they're like, this is all well and good, but what do I say? How do I put it together? What do I use? So we gave them tools and templates. We had them modify them and then share them with each other, right? This tribal knowledge. And what you see is as they're going through it and they're peer reviewing and everybody's commenting on it, the best ones filter to the top. And it's so easy to pull the cream off inside Sales Good because those are the ones at the top. So you know which ones are working, right? So it's almost like this, I don't have to do a whole lot. I just kind of throw it out there and let them do it themselves. And it's awesome because it works. And rolling out the bite-sized coaching, we just talked about that. But it's not only the videos and the self-learning, but the concept of these huddles where the managers run them. Yesterday, we hit a tipping point. I was in a meeting with our enterprise management team, and one of the managers said, I'd kind of like to run my own huddle. So I was sitting there very calm and said, yes, okay. Inside, I'm doing Rocky on the steps of, the Philadelphia courthouse. It's like, yes, we finally hit it. Right? We've got one who's finally stepped up and said, yeah, that's pretty cool. And he's an enterprise guy, which is awesome because, everything rolls down. So it was a great tipping point at RingCentral, and I'm just so excited about it. And I'm like next week, I said, okay, I'm going to sit with you next week. I'm going to video you. We're going to get it all done. And of course, he looked at me like, okay. So where we go? Yeah, what did I agree to? Exactly. So we ran into that. All right. So when we invested in the BDR prospecting, we said, throw away everything you have now, and we want to go at it from a different perspective. So we created these huddles, or these opportunities for them to learn. So we started with the best practice, right? What is best practices for prospecting? Deb, thank you. Eli, thank you. They recorded videos for us. They gave us tutorials. They did a lot of things that talk about just the concept of prospecting. Not necessarily for RingCentral, but prospecting in general. So we had to reset the bar with a lot of our BDRs. They had bad habits. They were doing things that just didn't make any sense. So we had to peel it all back. And with the help of SalesHood, it was, it worked very well. And then the next one was, what do they do every day? They leave voicemails because it's very hard for them to connect. So it was teaching them, how do you leave effective voicemails? How do you leave a voicemail that somebody is going to actually respond to? So we worked on that one. And as members, they each had to do it. The managers had to do it as well. And then the managers were accountable to going through every single one of these and commenting on them and rating them. So once again, guess what happened? The good ones bubbled to the top. You can see it. And then on the IT persona, this is where we work very closely with Robert and with our product management team, or product marketing team, was to say, you can't just say, hi, we're RingCentral, this is what we do, we're fabulous, buy us. You can, but everybody does that. So we thought we got to come at it from a different perspective, which means we need to Why buy now? So what are the compelling events? Who are the people we should be talking to? And how do we get their attention? So that's what these are about, these personas. And I'm going to actually walk you through the 3 personas and the details we got for it. So our personas were the VP of IT, there was a CEO, CIO, C-level, and then call center. Those are the 3 personas that we came up with. Then they had to practice, email, voicemail practice, and then they had to record their best voicemails, and those again bubbled up to the top, and there were winners and all that kind of good stuff. So the bite-sized coaching videos that were created by Deb, by Eli, and by some of our folks was people research first, right? And we all know the various tools you can use to research for what people are out there, LinkedIn and Facebook and you name it, it's out there. The company research, emails, a cadence, and the voicemails, and all of this, bite-sized, was only 40 minutes. And we got 100% adoption. I'm very pleased to say that all of the programs that we've started running in the 5 months I've been there, we have 100% adoption from every single salesperson, management, leadership in the company. Yeah, exactly. Wow. That's still mine, because it's unbelievable. Right? Because, and part of that is our very senior leaders said, yes, what you're talking about is what we want to do. Do what it is that voodoo that you do and make it happen, and we'll make sure that it happens as well. And that's how we've got it, 100% adoption. I've never seen it anywhere else. So Robert Murphy, there he is. Here's one of our huddles. So he started the VP product of IT persona. So Robert recorded a video over top of some slides that he put together about the persona itself. And then what each of these individuals had to do was look at the video, have a team discussion, so they got together in groups, and then do an email practice. Right? So this is what they had to do. And you can see over there, 100, they all did it. Right? They were learning. And that was one of the things too, is that the culture of learning at RingCentral is changing, in that we do actually now have a culture of learning. Because salespeople traditionally are like, I don't have time, I'm not going to make it a priority, I'm not doing it. But they're starting to see the successes that come out of it, and they're using a really cool tool to do it. It's fun. In fact, it's funny, with the videos that they record themselves, my only rule is you must have clothes on. Right? I don't care where you do it, I don't care who you're doing it with, I don't care what's in the back, you just need to be dressed, please, thank you. So most of them did it. They were good. So, and we talked about all these things, problems, impacts, ideals. So this is what the details talked about. So I'm now going to walk you through the template that with product management, with creative, with our people, with saleshood, everybody got together, and this is what we came out with. Now, the persona slides themselves, we're not going to leave in the deck, but we're definitely going to leave you the template in case you want to use it. So let's talk about C-level first. And these are handed out to all the BDRs. They have them at their desk. They're double-sided, right? Double-sided, what's the word I'm looking for?
Laminated.
Thank you, laminated. Double-sided laminated, so they can, whoever they get on the phone, they can flip really quickly for this. So the roles and responsibilities of this person, what are the pain points they're looking at? The pain points are very specific to this persona, right? A C-level, CIO, a COO. These are typically the people that we sell to. What are the problems that they have? So what are their pains? So now that we've got all this so we can get their attention, then we talk about what do ideal solutions look like? What are some of the selling points that RingCentral has? Here's a little bit of the how and what. This is mostly the outcome that you want. And down here is where we talk about the why, right? This is a customer stories. Now notice the customer stories aren't just, yay, Box uses us. Because frankly, that was the slide that I got initially, not for this, but in the customer deck was a big logo of Box, and on the side a quote from one person from Box. That was it. I was like, guys, that's not going to work. It's great if you're trying to get someone's attention in a magazine, but as salespeople, we have to have proof points, and that's what this is, the customer referencing. And you, of all people, this is Joanne Black. If you want to know about how doing reference selling, that's the woman to talk to right there. She's written a couple of books. It's awesome. Is have the numbers in here, the KPIs. What was the difference? The ROI, total cost, whatever you can come up with, make it. And that's it. It's just doot, doot. From this, they can create emails, they can do voicemails, they can answer questions, they can create compelling presentations, they can do all of that from this one persona. The next one was IT leadership. Followed the same thing, but you'll notice that roles and responsibilities and pain points have changed. So is the business challenges, right? So the IT guys got a little different from somebody else at the C-level. And then ideal solutions, what about RingCentral, and the customer stories, right? Specific to what an IT leader would care about. And lastly is contact center, because we do have a contact center product. Same thing. Roles and responsibility, pain points, business challenges, the ideal solution, the selling points, and the customer stories. For me, this is one of the most compelling pieces of all of it, is to get the customer stories in with the numbers. What was the percentage? Because there's three things that people care about. And that's, how is it going to affect me from a point of time? Maybe it's time to market. Maybe it is, time for creation, whatever that is. It's going to be resources. How is it going to help me manage my resources better, right? Put them in the right places so they're doing the right things. And the third part is revenue. How am I going to increase revenue, cut costs, do all? That's what they care about. That's what these numbers should align with. And then how do you determine? So we gave them these, and they're like, okay, this is great, but how do I know when to actually use it? How am I going to get their attention? And so we, as a team, and this was, I was talking to Eli about it earlier, this was fighting over the whiteboard marker to figure this one out. But it's these trigger events, right? Existing maintenance. So a contract is coming up. That's a great time to get in front of your buyer to say, you might want to consider us. The business is expanding, right? Any business is expanding. No matter what you sell, when a company is growing, they need to have large adoption of what it is that they're selling, and you get that large adoption by having your salespeople deliver the right message. New locations, security breach, right? We're a SaaS-based company. There's yet to be a SaaS company that's been broken into. On premises, we hear about it every day. So that's a big one. If there's been a security breach, in fact, after the last one, which was, there was the Target one, there was Yahoo, there were a few others where there was a big security breach. We immediately got our BDRs on the phones and said, start talking about it. This is what you want to talk about. And they got hits. People were listening because they just had the bejesus scared out of them by the news, right, on these things. And then a failing system, on-premises systems, things like that. If, you can imagine what we did with Avaya. In fact, thank you to our marketing team. Avaya had their big user conference a few months ago. As soon as they got off the planes in the airport, there were big RingCentral marquees saying, come to RingCentral, we don't fail, whatever it was. But it was all the way along to get their baggage. That's what it was, RingCentral, 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 right? It was like, yeah, nice job. So here's some examples, right? I'm not going to beat this to death, but they learn by doing, right? And they learn by doing these huddles and actually doing these activities and learning from the activities. And there's a leaderboard there. So guess which one people were paying attention to, right? 1, 2, 3. You can see how well they did because they've been rated by their peers, by their managers. The good ones bubbled to the top. They did the, which one's this? The voicemail, practicing the voicemails. So they actually recorded themselves doing the voicemail so you could hear it. Managers had to do it. We rated them on these scales. And again, the top ones bubbled up to the top. So you get to learn who knows what they're doing. And then lastly, what we did with this BDR is that we had daily check-ins. So at the end of the day, while we were putting this together, and it was done in a phased approach. So we had a small pilot group we started with because we want to make sure this was going to work. We didn't want to roll it out to everybody and then it wasn't. So a small pilot group, for us to be sure that we were being effective, we would check in and have them check in every day to say what worked, what didn't work, all of that, and then we would look at this. Now, this became fairly onerous on the BDRs, right? And they pushed back. So I had a quid pro quo with them, right? I will say you only have to do this every 2 days, but you've got to guarantee that you do it on those 2 days, which they did. Right? It was a good deal. We got it working, and they did what we needed, and we found the information that we wanted. So as a result, Andrew Robeson is running our business development team. He's been with the company about the same time I have, about 5 months, and he walked into a pretty bad situation. So this was a quote that I got from him yesterday about the system is that, and it's, unfortunately he kind of didn't quite get what I was after, but it's close enough. But to work closely with marketing, and to work closely with creative, and to work closely with sales and with the vendors. And we were able to actually make some significant changes and significant updates. And the reps felt like they were investing in their own success. They had fun. They loved the idea. They had to be clothed, so you can just imagine what we got. It boosted their skills, right? They went from being rejected on a regular basis to actually having people answer their calls. And the excitement from a rep, from a BDR, when we said, what did it sound like? They're like, oh my God, I got the guy on the phone, and we were, so they had a lot of excitement, so they were getting some success out of it. Managers were much better coaches because the managers were running this and being held accountable for it. They became good at coaching their people. of what was needed. We immediately saw more meetings being scheduled. I mean, it happened right away. We finished this, they were doing it. Pipeline was increased, and the quality of pipeline too. We were getting the people that we wanted to, and I love this number. The new rep ramp times have been reduced by 65%, with opportunities, revenue, contributing coming up 50% or sooner in 3 months. So that's the change in 3 months. It's been phenomenal. So what are some of the lessons learned, right? Active learning by doing, right? You've got to do it. It can't just be death by PowerPoint here, do what I say, not as I do, because the managers were involved, because we were involved from an enablement, because marketing, everybody was involved in saying, you know, surrounding them with love and support, it became successful that way. The sales teams really appreciated the practice and the focus, because from a sales perspective, it meant that their BDRs were delivering them really, really good quality leads, right? So everything rolls into everything else. A lot of time spent educating marketing, but it was worth it, right? Spent a lot of time saying, don't give me a brochure, this is what I want. Don't just give me an hour-long video. This is what we need, because this is how people are going to consume it. And I love it that they did it, right? They're doing it. I guess they love being taught, whatever. And we held managers accountable, and just do it and iterate, right? As Eli said, this number of times that they will actually get in and touch the application from a training perspective is unbelievable. Like 5 times they'll re-record the video because they want it to look good, right? That's 5 times they've practiced the pitch. 5 times they've practiced whatever it's been doing. Every time they reviewed their peers. 10 times they reviewed their peers. So now we're looking at 15, right? And then they go back in for these other, it's just, the numbers just speak for themselves.